Hi, my name is Chris LeBou. I'm an application engineer in the embedded computing group here at Advantech. Today I'd like to go over the hardware write protection feature on some of our SQF SSDs. Many of our customers have systems that reside in public places where large numbers of users have access to the system. These could be things like kiosks, slot machines, infotainment systems, digital signage, the list goes on and on. This sort of exposure presents a number of problems that customers have to overcome to keep their system running regularly. These could be things such as preventing users from accidentally damaging the OS or application through the addition or deletion of applications. It could include potentially maintaining and keeping a system from accidentally becoming corrupted over time, with many users changing information or even just fatigue. It could happen from a number of different reasons. This also has a lot of high maintenance potential with all of these users of different skill level running this system in the public. And then the worst case, of course, malicious attacks. Not every user is going to be a good user, and there are going to be those who want to take advantage of a system and will want to try to use some sort of malicious attack on a public system such as this. Now, all of these problems can be mitigated by using write protection. Write protection puts a drive in a read-only state where any change to the drive is not permanent, as it will be cleared upon a reboot. This helps maintain system integrity and can be implemented in either software or hardware. For systems with multiple drives, for instance one for an OS drive and one for a data drive, it can be done individually. The OS drive may be read-only to maintain integrity of applications, or the data drive may be read-write so that it can save user information or important data that changes. While similar OS integrity measures can be possible through software features like Windows Enhanced Write Filter, it is not as secure as a hardware solution. Software-based write filters carry the risk of being disabled or even hacked by a malicious user, whereas hardware write protection is not easily hacked. It would require a user to gain physical access to a system's internal hardware to remove the jumper before any changes could be made. The hardware write protection function is controlled by pin headers on the SQF SSDs. In both the 2-pin and 4-pin implementation, there are only 2 pins that can control the write protection signal. Now, of course, on the 2-pin, it's the only 2 pins, and on the 4-pin, it's the middle 2 pins that control the signal. While the jumper is in place, the SSD is read-only, and any changes will, of course, be cleared upon a reboot. When removed, it is read and write and acts like a normal SSD. By default, these pins do nothing because they support multiple functions. Depending on the drive, the pins can be programmed to trigger the write protection function or secure erase function. You can refer to the tutorial video about secure erase to learn more about that function. Also, please note that only one of these functions can be active at a time and are only activated by request. You can contact your Advantech representative if either of these functions seem right for your application. The hardware write protection feature can be supported by many of our SQF SSD offerings here at Advantech. Everything from 2.5-inch SATA drives, mSATAs, and even SATA DOMs have options to support write protection. Here's a list of the various form factors that can support this feature. Now let's take a quick look at the hardware write protection feature on one of our SQF drives. I have an SQF S25 M8 1TB SAE drive which is one of our 830 series 2.5-inch SATA-based SSDs. I'll be running an AIMB 585 with an i5, 16 gigs of RAM, and Windows 10. And for the demonstration, we will write a Word document to the drive and see if it is saved after a reboot, depending if the jumper is in place or removed. So let's take a quick look at this. Okay, so now we are in the test environment here. I have the SQF drive labeled as the test volume. Currently the write protection jumper is in place, so any data that we are going to be writing to this drive will not be saved. And I have a test document over here called test, and we're going to attempt to write to this drive while the jumper is in place and see what happens. So we have attempted to write to the drive, and it appears to have been copied to the drive. However, no write command was sent internally in the hardware while that jumper is in place. So this is merely a temporary state, and once we restart the system, we'll see that any data that we put in this drive is actually going to be erased, or was actually just not saved. So let's go ahead and restart. Okay, so we are back in the test environment. Let's check on the drive to see if anything was stored. And we can see that, in fact, nothing that we would write to this drive was stored. So, now let's go ahead and take the jumper off. And you can do this while the system is running. You can either replace the jumper or remove the jumper to turn off the drive's ability to save or not save data. And the other thing to note is that it is drive wide. It's not going to be file based like some software. This is a physically turning off the write signal for this drive. So you can't specify exactly a certain file that would be saved or not saved unless you are physically continually removing and replacing the jumper. So we have the jumper now removed, and we can now save to the drive just like a normal SSD. So we've written our test file, and we can now restart the system again, and this time, because we didn't block the saved signal or the write signal, we should see that the information was indeed saved. Okay, so let's check if this file was saved. And yes, it was saved. So that is how you can use the jumpers to put your drive into a write protected state or remove it from a write protected state, and how you can expect to see the functionality for your application. Now, there are some definite benefits to software write protection, but hardware write protection also provides some superior write protection functions, such as not being able to be accessible from the outside, or being able to be hacked. We've gone over many of the benefits of this process. And I'd like to thank you for watching this short video. If this is a tool that you would like to use in your application, please contact your Advantech representative to get this feature for your drives in the future. Thank you very much. Have a good day.